Buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everybody. Okay. Well, welcome to the plenary conference entitled Technology and Motivation in Language Teaching. I am honored, really honored, to introduce our plenary speaker, Philip Haynes. Philip is a global professional development consultant for Oxford University Press. Originally from the UK, he has been living in Mexico for over half his life. He has trained thousands of teachers in person across 15 countries and conducted online training sessions with many more. In addition to his work as a consultant, Philip is also a materials writer and has authored several ELT books designed for young learners, teenagers and adult students. Welcome once more time to our house. Philip, it is really an honor to have you here. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Thank you very much. It's an honor for me to be here for two reasons, because the Poly was where I kind of started kind of full-time my teacher training work. So there's a lot of people in the audience who I've worked with in the past. And my middle son graduated in January from SFEM. He's the only one in, I'll tell him. Yeah. Put up your hand if you understand physics and mathematics. There are a few, yeah. The rest of us, a mystery. You probably wouldn't, yeah. So it's a great honor for me to be here. Thank you very much. Thank you for staying. So the topic is, I hope my clicker is going to work fine today. The topic is technology and motivation. The content from this session comes principally from one of the papers published by Oxford University Press, which is the one on the, I'm not good at left and right. Left, thank you very much. Yeah, I can do it, but not when it's the other way around. And the latest one we published is humanizing technology, especially with the advent of AI. You know, some of us feel fairly insecure about technology. So what I want to do in today's session is the following. I was looking at Brad earlier. He was standing right on the edge of the stage. Yeah, there we go. This is what I want to do in today's session. Thinking about technology, motivation, technology, and language learning. The concept of learning spaces. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a really nice concept that I want us to think about. And then thinking about, how we can effectively use technology to motivate students. And finishing with conclusions. If I'm correct, we finish at 10 to 3. Oh, has everybody had lunch? So I can continue for as long as I want. No. Okay, so 10 to 3 is a good time to finish. Brilliant. So let's get started with thinking about technology. I'm going to be asking you to do a few things in this session. I think it's quite nice. Maybe you get a chance to talk to each other, move a tiny, tiny bit. But thinking about technology, I've got a couple of questions. And you can raise your hand. Let me give instructions first. You can raise your hand like this, and you can raise it anywhere between here and kind of here, which is like, yes, but not really. Do you like using technology in language teaching? Let's have a look. Yeah, it's all the hands which are like this, which are easy to see, and then I can see. Yeah, do you have to like technology? No. I think the most interesting and useful piece of technology in the classroom is the board. It's not digital technology, it is analog technology. And with your students, with a marker and a board, you can create full classes. Do you need a course book to teach English? No. Is it useful to have a book? Yeah, and I work with a publisher. Yeah. No, and I agree. I work with a publisher, and I change many things that are inside the books. But a book gives you that kind of, it's a time-saving device, right? You don't have to prepare so much. So technology is great. A lot of us use it. I think we've become more proficient. Have you become more proficient since the 18th of March 2020? Do you remember, why do I mention that date? It's the date I was sent home and never to return to my office. I have another question for you. And you're gonna answer it in a different way. I asked you to raise your hand. This time, I'm going to ask you, make sure I get it the right way around, to use your arm like an ometer. Do not poke people in the eye. Do not block their vision. Don't behave like kids. Yeah. I would like you to indicate how good you consider your skills with technology within your work of language teaching. So because my screen is the other way around. So what would this be? Yeah, and this would be? And you've got 180 degrees. So can you indicate to me and to the rest of the room how good you feel? Making a little pyramid. Yeah. I consider myself pretty much like this. I mean, I can do a lot of different things. I'm not a wizard with technology. I look for a younger person to help me with stuff like that. But I can produce slides. I can do things online. I can do lots of different things. But I'm not a huge expert. And every teacher has a different level of skill. And you don't have to be like this to be a good teacher. Is it possible to be a good teacher and to be like this? Yeah, because you can use the other tools. Technology doesn't necessarily add that extra to the class. It can do, and it often does, but not necessarily. So, yeah, although technology is widely recognized to have benefits for learners, it has not transformed education to the extent that was once expected. Does anybody use an interactive whiteboard at the moment? How easy is it to find an interactive whiteboard? It's becoming quite hard. Yeah, it was, this will revolutionize teaching. It doesn't. It is the teacher that does that. So, and we've had this going on for years. I remember my secondary school. Oh dear, I started my secondary school in 1979, a long, long time ago. And I remember arriving there, and there was a language lab. You know, these little individual desks with a little cassette player. And I went to the same school for 7 years. It was empty for the 7 year. It was the new technology, but it never really revolutionized language teaching and learning. There we go, yes. Or maybe the guys are changing my slides for me. I want to think about motivation, technology, and language learning. My Britishness means I have to keep checking the phone. Oh, yes. Yeah, okay, the guys are changing it for me. Thanks, guys. What helps develop motivation? Motivation is an interesting topic. I think we all believe that motivation is important, and you can look at motivation in many different ways. Integrative, what are the words? Help me with words for motivation. Can anybody help me? Intrinsic and extrinsic, those are the words I'm looking for. Thank you very much. We can look at it in other ways. And the most recent model that I found, mentioned in the paper, is these three aspects which are needed for motivation: autonomy, relatedness, and competence. I'll explain them briefly. Feeling in charge of one's environment, having autonomy, agency we were talking about in the session earlier, knowing that you are in charge. If your students are in charge of what they're learning, they may be in the class, they may be following what you are directing, but if they feel they're in charge, that leads to motivation. Okay. I don't know if my clicking is making it move or whether it's the guys at the back. If it's them, I appreciate it. Relatedness, feeling connected to others. Is it important to be connected to other people? Yeah? Is everybody here an extrovert? All the extroverts say yes, all the introverts, yeah? What do you think I am? Introvert or extrovert? Introvert. I'm happy to do this, but put me in a room with 3 people I don't know, I get nervous. But this is fine. Yeah. Most people, want to feel connected to other people. I mean, introverts also, but we don't look for people all the time. Having that, feeling connected, going into a classroom and saying, yeah, I'm part of this classroom is very, very important. And the last one here, competence, feeling capable of, feeling capable and effective. Oh, I see people taking pictures, that's good. Please keep doing that if you wish. I will be making the presentation available at the end with my email. Oh, the pen goes down, nobody takes any more notes. Yeah. Yes, I'm very happy to do that, but if you email me, I will send that to you. So these 3 things are very, very important for students to be motivated. Do you know who you are sitting next to? Do they look like a nice person? Yeah? Would you be happy to talk to them? I am the teacher, I'm going to tell you what to do. I'd like you to work with the people next to you, 2s or 3s. If you're sitting on your own, you can stay on your own. You have to talk to yourself. That's fine, you don't have to move. Can you just think, just for a minute or so, what are some benefits that you can identify of using technology in language learning and teaching? So just discuss, what are some benefits? I would like to give you longer to talk, but I don't think there's going to be enough time. I think you could have spoken about that for longer, but I'm worried about the time because some people haven't had lunch, so we do need to remember this. To elicit your answers would be a little bit problematic with the size of the audience. I'm going to put on the screen some benefits. If you wish, if you're feeling enthusiastic, if the benefit I put on the screen matches one of yours, you can go, woo! Yeah? If that makes you happy. Yeah. I haven't done it yet. Thank you, everybody. I was feeling a little bit, I've got a bit of a cough and I'm feeling a bit tired, but now you've made me feel very nice. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. This is what introverts need, 200 people to stand in front of. So I'm going to click, or my colleagues are going to help me. Yeah, wider exposure to English. Yeah, do that if you wish, that's all good. Yeah, some of you will not remember because you're too young, but some of you will remember trying to find authentic material for the classroom before the digital age. Very difficult. There's no excuse. Learning language through playing games. My youngest son developed his English dramatically playing with kids in Texas, the same game night after night incessantly. The language which was coming out of his room was horrific, but I realized he was learning. Watching movies and TV, things like that. Authentic language use. Oh, okay. I'm not sure if this was a good idea now, but we'll keep going with it. Sources and contexts that match their interests. Most teachers talk about, it's very difficult to give the content in the class that's interesting for every single student. students should be going off and finding things that are interesting for them. Many students are probably doing that already. Maybe we should make that aware, make some students aware that they can do that. Flexible learning. You can learn when they can learn when they can, want to, and need to. Yeah, there's no excuse. I mean, if you've got internet connection and the device, yeah, you can learn whenever you want. Situated learning, learning that takes place anywhere. You don't need to be in a classroom. Are we going to get a full Mexican wave going? Yeah. Oh yeah, you've really cheered me up. It's great. What else have we got? Personalized learning. Learning. Oops. Go back. Well, yeah, we'll go personalized learning. It's what they want. Autonomy, control over what, when, where, and how they learn. All of these different things. The next one. Social learning, have the opportunity to interact with others. I didn't think about doing that before we started the session, but it's interesting. To always try new things in your sessions. Interacting with people. You don't need to go down to the Zocalo and find a tourist and interview them, which was a thing we used to do about 30 years ago. We used to tell students, dangerous, go down to the Zocalo, a dangerous place, and interview people you don't know. And the last one, yeah, feedback. There's a lot of immediate feedback about when using technology. One thing I use feedback for in found that. So going back to this, I mentioned that motivation can be linked to autonomy, relatedness, and competence. So we've got on the right these 3 areas of motivation, and on the left these 6 benefits. Can you don't do it together, but just as a whole group? Can you find any links between what is on the left and on the right? Number 6 is quite easy. Autonomy matches with autonomy. Yeah. Can you find any other links? Social learning. A personalized would be, yeah, I mean, it can kind of, some of them can be linked to various things. Yeah, there's autonomy. Yeah, you can do it as in the way that you want. Which one? Competence would relate to? Yeah, I mean, it's not a one-to-one link, but yeah, having the social learning, being able to interact with people shows you can get competence and feedback there. So the benefits of technology can be linked to the different aspects of motivation. British, check the time. There we go. And another quote from one of the authors of the paper I mentioned earlier: technology on its own will not motivate learners for long, but in combination with a good teacher, interesting activities, and well-designed materials, it can play a significant role in keeping them engaged. For me, there is a noun phrase for me. There's one noun phrase in that which is the most important thing for me. I'm asking you to guess what is inside my head. Anybody got any ideas? What? I tell you what I'm thinking. A good teacher. A good teacher is the most important thing. Sometimes we worry about AI taking over our jobs, but I think that the skills that a good teacher has to create the environment, to motivate students, to give them the different things they need to learn is the most important thing. So technology will not do that easily, but it is a good teacher. Is anybody here a good teacher? Good. I was hoping somebody would respond to that. Yeah, and being a good teacher is something that is motivating. If you know you're doing your job well, you know, it gives you life in your work. Right, but we need to move on. I want to move on to the notion of learning spaces. I asked you about this, and a couple of people said, or nodded their head, that this is a concept you're familiar with. And this is a beautiful idea when thinking about motivating students. I've got an image for you. You can see it more or less. It's not incredibly big. I want to ask you some questions so that you observe the picture. I want you to observe the picture. Some simple questions, and you can just call out. How many... That's not me. No. How many trees can you see? Yep. I think 11 is the correct. 10? If you only, how many fingers do you have, sir? Yes, exactly. Very good. Yeah. How many buildings can you see? It's a simple question, but what defines a building? The school, is that one building or two buildings? However you decide, I don't really care. The houses, how many houses are there? Is it one building? I don't care. What I want is you to observe the picture. How many people can you see? It's slightly more difficult because it's slightly smaller. I think 16 is the correct answer. Yeah, again, it doesn't really matter. I just want you to observe the picture because the people are important. Because this image illustrates some different learning spaces that exist. I want to start with... is it going to click? Click. Yes, okay. One learning space is the classroom. This is where most teachers have most contact with students. Do you have a lot of contact with students outside the classroom? Is that good or bad? I mean, you work with them mostly inside a classroom. There is some contact outside, but that's where your main relation exists. Does it look like a typical classroom? I would say yes and no. For students, no. But desk, chairs, students, teacher, board, resources. I mean, it's a very small classroom with 4 students, a very nice furniture. But that's typically what a face-to-face classroom looks like. Some furniture, some resources, and the people. But there are other learning spaces I want to look at. We've got remote learning. This is what we all learnt about 4 years ago, where we are still the classroom. It's the students and the teacher, and they're there, but they're in a different physical location. Yeah, that's one type of learning space. Click, thank you. Flexible learning. Okay, it may look quite similar. This student is not in an online class. They're not working directly with a teacher, probably. But they're working on something as and when they want. What is the best time of day to study? The time when you're most... Yeah. Some of you study at 3 o'clock in the morning. After about 9 in the evening, my brain just shuts down. But yeah, studying, whenever we want. Is it going to work? Click. Thank you. Yes, thanks, guys. Community learning or peer learning, where you work with other people. This is what a lot of teachers do in the staff room. Working with people at the same level, not a particular expert or anything, but just getting together and learning from each other. I think you've all learnt a lot from other teachers, have you? Yeah. Well, hopefully you talk to each other sometimes. Play learning, which is one that I particularly like. This is the one I like to involve myself in most. When I get on the computer, I'm thinking about something, I'm just playing around, and I'll play around and try to develop something, and if it doesn't work, absolutely no problem. It's where you try things out with no consequence of failure. If nothing happens, great. It's just getting into the process. I love play learning. Where should I stand? Yes. performance support or mentoring, mentor learning. Have you ever looked for a more experienced teacher? Oh, good. Yeah, somebody who knows a lot more than you, use them to help you, to give advice, to get advice. This one, the one that most people didn't spot initially, there is somebody on a bike. I drew a little cable so she's listening to a podcast. Does anybody listen to podcasts? Watch YouTube videos? Yeah? Why? Because you want to learn something? I mean, it can be, but often it's just because. And you can learn a lot of interesting things just through informal learning. A lot of learning happens in that particular way. So we've got these different learning spaces. And there are actually 7 because the first one was the classroom, but I've chosen the other ones that were here. Can I ask you to think, again with the person next to you, which of these learning spaces have you been in this week? Think about yourself. Which of these learning spaces have you been in this week? Okay, I'm not going to spend too long on this, but the question is, which of these learning spaces have you been in this week? What do you say? Yeah, I suspect if there's one which you haven't been in, it's probably the first one, because that means you would have to be in a class connected. Oh, but sorry. I mean, it's the one that you may not necessarily be in. It's slightly more difficult to do. You have less control because you have to be coordinated with somebody else, time and space. So yeah, most of them. So we do a lot of our learning, not necessarily inside the classroom, but in different learning spaces. And a couple of concepts. I think we're all familiar, or are you familiar with the term, can't read, lifelong learning? There's too many L's in that for me to pronounce. Are you familiar with lifelong learning? Yeah, I think we're familiar with this. Click. Yes, learning that takes place across a learner's life. But there's another term which I discovered recently, specifically from the paper I'm mentioning, which is, if it's going to click. Oh, yes. Have you heard of life-wide learning? Oh, it's a beautiful term. If lifelong learning is learning along your life, what is life-wide learning? Aha, so we've got it. So lifelong learning is during your life, and life-wide is learning in different learning spaces. And this is what you've been doing. We might have thought of learning happening inside the classroom some years ago, but really a lot of it is happening in listening to a radio program, talking to a colleague, asking a teacher you respect about something. You are learning, you're partaking in life-wide learning. So life-wide learning is in different spaces throughout your life. Learning that takes place in all environments during a learner's life, which is formal, informal, inside the classroom, and often outside the classroom. I don't know, are you excited by that word? Is it just me who's excited by that word? Woo! I think it's a great word. It's kind of broadened my perspective on learning. So I need to move into this main section here, effective use of technology. Obviously, I can't cover a huge amount in these 20, 25 minutes that I have left. But I want to think about this environment again. So we had, oh, nope, go back one. We had started off with the classroom, which is the formal learning environment, the one that we are used to when we are in the role of the teacher. That is the space we are in. But then we have the rest of the picture, where we have these other learning environments beyond the classroom. And a way to work with this is to go from inside the classroom where we exist, where we work with the students, and try to make use of those spaces beyond the classroom. So the first thing to do is to encourage. I'll work you through these and explain them in a minute. Encourage, prepare, support, and involve. Yeah? And you can see how all of these things are happening inside our classroom, but they're beginning to go use the spaces beyond the classroom. I'll explain these to you. So the first one here is encouraging. Ask learners what technology they currently use in their lives and for what purpose. What kind of technology do your students use? If you want a phone, yeah. Oh, so we have, did you say WhatsApp? Yeah, thank you. This guy here, he doesn't believe he did it, but he made me use WhatsApp. I didn't want to, but he made me use WhatsApp, and I'm very grateful that you did. Thank you very much, Greg. Yeah, so phone. But then a phone is many things. So we've got WhatsApp, social media, music, videos, lots and lots and lots of different things. Are all of your students aware that these things can be used for language learning? I agree with you, teachers, like, possibly, but maybe they haven't made those links, those connections that these things can be used. Watching Netflix, can that be classed as an opportunity for learning English? Yeah? With or without closed caption? You choose, you have autonomy, you decide what is best. I personally find closed caption incredibly useful because what I hear is not necessarily what I believe I'm hearing. And then I can see, it's written like that, yeah? You have the letter, you've got double L and the letter Y. Do they have the same sound in Mexican Spanish? So I don't necessarily know whether something is written with a Y or with a double L. And something like closed caption for my own Spanish learning can help me with that. And English is just a mess in terms of spelling, so it can help students. How many of your students have written the word, and I say word, firstable? F-I-R-S-T-A-B-L-E. Have you ever seen your students write the word firstable? Yeah. They think that first of all is one word, firstable, and if they see it written down, something with closed caption, it will help them understand these things. Click. Oh, is this going to work? Yes, thank you. We should prepare students for an activity outside the classroom. See what kind of things they use, then start preparing them for an activity. You know, setting up an activity, giving them instructions, checking instructions, giving them some examples of things they can be doing outside the classroom. And then get them, provide more specific support related to the activity learners are doing outside the classroom. Start them off on the activity, get them going with that, and then give them support when they need it. So we've already started to go outside the classroom. And the last one, oops, let's go back a sec. Yeah, learners can then set their own activities. They report back to the class. Things happen outside the classroom, they report back to the classroom, and they're given support when needed. We're not just giving them support all the time, support when needed. So the idea here is we have technology. We can use technology in the classroom. If you are a teacher who says, oh, I don't like a lot of technology in the classroom, it stresses me out, things go wrong, you don't have to do that. You can use the technology which students have access to outside the classroom and make the link between inside the classroom and outside the classroom. Just check what's coming next. Yes. Click. So a quote, again, from one of the authors of the paper: smartphones form a bridge between the classroom and the outside world. Activities started in class may finish elsewhere, and materials collected on phones or other locations can be exploited in class. We don't have to be very good with technology to do certain things. I'd like to share with you an activity, a simple activity that can be done with your students. But I need to ask you a question. How many people here have been to Ixtlahuaca? Oh, that's more than I expect. I've got six people. Ixtlahuaca is an exciting town. It's a town. It's a good place. It's not where most people go on vacation. It's in the state of Mexico. How far away from Mexico City? Maybe two. Yeah, it depends where you go, I suppose. But yeah, it's. I wouldn't recommend you go there, but if you do find yourself there, you'll have a perfectly nice day. That is Ixtlahuaca. And I did an experiment once with an activity which you can do with your students, where what you ask them to do is to take their phone and to go around and take photos of examples of English in their context. There is a surprising amount of English, for good or bad, around us in our environment. And I did this with some... I went to Ixtlahuaca, I went to the university there, and I decided to see what English... I think some of you have seen some of these before, but what English I could find around the place. So I went to the university, I parked my car thinking, right, I need to start looking for bits of English. And, no, don't go through my slides. No, you're going to see all my slides. No. Oh. No, nobody saw the slides. Okay, so the story still works, I think. I got out of my car, and what did I see? Where is the English? Aha. Yeah. Does Pepe know he's using English? Maybe yes, maybe no. But there is a surprising amount of English around. I mean, as soon as I'm going to do this, I started looking, and there was this. Click. Yeah. The communication is quite interesting because there was a no, and then it was crossed out and stuff like this. And there's a very interesting piece of English underneath it in the Peter photocopied paper. Animal distortion rubric 1138 never ends. I have no idea what that means. But in Ixtlahuaca, which is not the city with the town with the most English speakers around the country, there are bits of English. And students can look for this, and they can take their phones, they can take photos, and they can bring this back to the classroom. And it's interesting, the kind of discussions in the language that come out. Moving forward, is it going to click? Yeah, I stopped this poor kid. Hey, can I take a picture of your sweatshirt, please? Just like, and he stood there, not quite sure what was happening. Never surrender, this is Sparta. Didn't expect to see that in Ixtlahuaca. For those of you who have been to Ixtlahuaca, did you see that piece of language? No, you weren't looking maybe. Maybe you need to go and find examples of these things. So I went around taking pictures of this. Click. If I just say click, does it work, or do I need to push the button as well? No. Can we go back one? Yeah. I thought, right, I'm sick of I took many different photos, I found different things. I thought, I'm sick of doing this, I'm going to go and have a cup of coffee, go to the cafe, and there's English. Where is the English there? Express, But what is the name of the cafe? Double F, double E. I mean, is that the German? Where am I? I'm in a language institute. Yeah. I think the English word for coffee comes via the Dutch, I think. It's a very odd double F, double E spelling. But there's the express. And I thought, all right, yeah, sit down, don't want to do anything else. Click. And put the sugar in my coffee. Bakers and chefs. So what point am I trying to make? I'm trying to make a point. English is part, whether it should be or not, it is everywhere, it is part of life. But in terms of the activity, what am I trying to say, or what am I suggesting we can do with students? Oh, I heard different things. Somebody say, make them work. Yeah, that's the first thing I heard. Make them take pictures, make them be aware, and then when they've got all of these things on their phone, what are they going to do? Yeah. Just learn, yeah? They're going to bring it back to the classroom and share, yeah. And what's going to happen? It's going to go, oh, what's this? Where was this? What does that mean? It's going to spark curiosity. And because if it's the photos they have taken, it's going to be more kind of interesting for them to find out what things mean. And then speaking comes from that, yeah. So we can use simple things or the technology that the students have and they can use, set something up inside the classroom, get them to go off and do it outside and bring it back. And I'd like to do I have time? I don't know. Do it? Depends what I want to do, doesn't it? Do I have time? Yes, I think I do. Does everybody have a phone with them? Very good. You get a point. Do you have any pictures on your phone? Good. Can I ask you to take out your phone and find your favorite photo, or one of your favorite photos, and to share it with your partner. Take your phone, find a photo, a favorite photo, and share it with a partner. If you don't have any photos on your phone, you can look at the other person's phone. So find a picture, share it with your partner, and let's see what happens. Okay, I hate to stop you, but we get the idea. What did I ask you to do? Yeah, share pictures. And what did you do? Talking. Did I ask you to talk? Am I happy that you spoke? Yes. Yeah? What else was happening? You were interacting, bonding. You've started on my next activity. Yes. Did anybody laugh? Yes. Did I ask you to laugh? No. Why were you laughing? I asked you to look at photos. Sir, what were you looking at? You were looking at a video. Did I ask you to share a video? But does it matter? Does it matter that he was showing a video? No. That's all good. I was asking you earlier, I was talking about motivation with 3 words. The first one started with the letter A. Do you remember? Autonomy. The second one began with the letter R. Relatedness. And the last one was competence. In that very simple activity, which I made you do all the work, which of those 3 words related to autonomy were being activated? Yeah, all of them. Autonomy. What autonomy did you have? Which picture? Don't care. Which picture? Who did you speak to? Don't care who you spoke to. You had choice in what you showed and who you showed it to. Did you exercise your right not to take out your phone? Yes. Does it matter? No. Could you still do the activity? You could still do the activity because your partners had pictures. And relatedness, was relatedness activated there? People were laughing, yeah. Did you ask questions? Were you interested? Did you pretend to be interested? Yeah. Why were you interested? Yeah. What is this? What's happening here? Why is your favorite photograph? All of these different things. And competence, what level of language did you need? The level that you want. Yeah? Students can do it at a very, very low level, do that kind of activity. So that's an example of a very simple activity that requires you not to have necessarily a high level of competence in using technology yourself, that you can start in the classroom where you have contact with your students and where you activate those different learning spaces outside the classroom and make that connection. Something very simple, I hope. I don't consider myself very good with technology, and it's the kind of activity I like because, well, students are doing all the work. What was I doing when you were doing that activity? I was just walking around, talking to people. Monitoring, yeah, that's what we call it. Yeah, I was monitoring. I was just essentially just enjoying what was happening. Yeah, we call it monitoring. Yeah. So moving towards the end. Oh, click. Yeah. Okay. Another quote here from another one of the authors from the paper. Teachers need to be enthusiastic about new technology they introduce. If the teacher isn't enthusiastic, learners will think, why should I be? Which is important because sometimes we feel we need to put a bit of technology into the classroom. If we don't feel very comfortable with it, it's probably best not to put it in or to try to work with it but show enthusiasm. And the 2 activities I showed you with the phone, I don't need to have technological ability to do that, but I can still be enthusiastic and monitor, as you were telling me. So leading to conclusions, because it's time to wrap up in a second, and some people have to go and have lunch. Conclusions. I haven't had lunch, so just some conclusions here. The best technology is one you can use well. Yeah, it may be wonderful technology, but if you can't use it well, whiteboards, interactive whiteboards are fantastic, but if you can't use them well, it's not good technology. They can be fantastic, but not everybody got the way to use them. Technology allows for lifelong and yeah, it's very silly. Learning. Technology allows for lifelong and life-wide learning in different learning spaces. So we can take advantage of the different learning spaces and bring them into the classroom. Is it going to click? Yeah. There are different ways of looking at motivation. I particularly like this model of motivation, which comes from autonomy, relatedness, and competence. If you can activate at least 2 of those in an activity, there's more chance that students are going to feel motivated. Students feel motivated when they feel in control, they feel connected to others, and they feel that they can do it well. On the last one here, technology has many benefits when used well. Technology on its own will not lead to the benefits, but it's if you use it well, which depends on your competence with it and the things that are helping the environment. But make students use the technology, not you having to do all the work. So, if I can click. Yeah, just to remind you, I do work for a publisher. Which publisher do I work from? Oxford. You don't have to say Oxford, but yes. We publish these papers. They are completely free. You do have to just register, but there's a lot of wonderful content in these things. There's currently 12 available on different topics. If you're interested, please have a look. My final slide is going to say thank you. That hasn't come just yet. And as I click to that, the QR code is not going to disappear. So if it takes you a while to get access to the QR code, when I click to the next slide, it will not disappear. Ooh. But I would like to say that you've been a real pleasure. I felt tired and nervous and not very motivated, but you've motivated me. And it's great to see so many people I've worked with over the years, different people, absolutely wonderful. And thank you, Polly, for being my son's school. So with that, I'd like to say thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Philip. On behalf of our Directora de Formación de Lenguas Extranjeras, licenciada Silvia Blanco, I am honored to give this to you. Of course, a diploma, a nice diploma, and a small token of our appreciation for you being here.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
And I'm happy to be one of those students of yours.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care, everybody. Oh, I always have it there, but I haven't got it. Can I dictate it to you? Okay. How do you spell Philip? 6 letters. P-H-I-L-I-P. 6 letters, not 7. Dot. Haynes, which is Inés con H. Inés. I've lived in Mexico long enough to know that this is the easiest way to know. H-A-I-N-E-S at OUP. I work for Oxford University Press, OUP.com. So, OUP.com. OUP.com. If you send me an email, I will send you the presentation. So, but for the time being, thank you very much. Thank you.
Estimados